In this segment, we're going to take you through faceplate turning. So I've cut out a 5.5 inch circle here. Obviously, I found my center while it was still a square, used a compass, drew my circle, cut it out on the bandsaw. You don't have to worry about sticking to the lines exactly. We're going to turn it to a perfect cylinder or a perfect circle on the lathe. So that's that part. A little bit about the plates. Okay, for our lathes, you have to look at which lathe you're using. Our larger lathe takes a larger diameter thread. So this one, okay, and this one. These two go on the larger lathe. And then the red ones, they're for the small lathe. Okay, so they're different sizes spindles, unfortunately. It'd be nice if they were all the same, but they're not. So we have to mount this faceplate onto this piece of material. So we have to eyeball getting this, okay, as close to dead center as we can. So right about there, want to mark 4 spots where we're going to drill some holes and attach it with screws. So I've marked the four corners basically. Move that over there. We want to use an 1/8 inch drill bit. We want to drill down about 1 centimeter. Don't drill too far. You don't want to go all the way through this. Okay, put it in your drill. Safety glasses. Maybe make it a small indentation. Want to be fairly accurate with this. The closer you get it to center initially, the easier it's going to be to turn, and it's also going to be able to keep this to the largest diameter possible. So we'll drill down about 1 centimeter. There we go. I just call the masking tape just a poor man's depth stop or depth gauge. Okay, so I might as well take that off. We won't need it anymore. Take out the bit. And we have our 4 holes established. Going to use 1¼ screws. They're usually kept in the box with the rest of the supplies, kept over on the lathes. 1¼ inch, 1¼ inch, 1¼ inch, 1/4. Okay, let's attach the faceplate. Don't make it totally tight right now. Still should be able to wiggle. We'll tighten them up in a moment here. Still wiggles around a little bit, and that's good. And our last one. Now we can tighten that one up all the way, that one all the way, that one all the way, that one all the way. And it should sit nice, and you shouldn't have any gap between your faceplate and your piece of material. Okay, so that's how we get that all set up. And now we can go over to the lathe and we'll start turning. Okay, now we're ready to start turning, now that we have our faceplate mounted to the piece of material. So really easy to get started. You screw it on. Okay. You don't have to tighten it with a wrench or anything. It'll actually get tighter as we turn. Okay. Then we want to move your tool rest over. Tool rest works on a cam lock, so don't give up on it. It will get into place. You just have to wiggle it and manipulate it into place. Get as close to your piece of material as you can. And by close, I mean 1 millimeter. Rotate it. You can see how it hits here. That means I've got a high spot. So we'll make it 1 millimeter away from that. Now we're good. Okay. Make sure everything's tight. Okay, there's going to be a lot of force on it. So now what we're trying to do, obviously we're trying to make this into a perfect circle. It's close to a perfect circle from the bandsaw, but we're going to make it absolutely perfect. Okay, in the process of making it a perfect circle, we're going to get rid of all of our bandsaw marks. So we're going to have high spots and low spots and deeper grooves and shallower grooves. Okay, so we're going to get started on this with a round nose scraper. So that's your round nose scraper, and that's what we're going to do the majority of the work with. Okay, if you look at it closely, the end, or the surface that juts out the furthest, that's what you want to have facing up. You don't want it like this. Okay, proper position is like this. So I've broken this down into 4 steps. Okay, they're fairly simple to follow. First step is put your left hand on in the tool rest. And your left index finger should slide along there. That's why it's been designed like that. Okay, so that is step 1. Simple enough. Step 2, you put the round nose scraper on your fingers and then put your thumb on top. This is step 2. Okay, don't go and just throw this on here, because if you jam that in while the piece is rotating, okay, big chunks are going to go flying. You'll probably be starting over, and you'll probably be a bit scared of this machine. So step 1, step 2, okay, just like so. Now step 3, slowly bring the tool or the round nose scraper up onto the tool rest. Okay, like so, until it starts ticking. Then that's the end of step 3. Step 4, when that ticking starts, squeeze hard with your thumb and then slowly migrate across the piece of material. Okay, then step 1, step 2, step 3 till it ticks, step 4, squeeze hard with your thumb and move across. Okay, so we'll do that at full speed. For turning, I want you to rotate this piece at about 700 RPM. So that is in between 3 and 4 on our dial down here. So this is a unique tool. It has to be running to adjust the speed. Okay, so you would turn it on and you would adjust the speed accordingly. Okay, so we're going to use about 700 RPM to do turning, and then we're going to speed it up to do the sanding. So, step 1, hand against the tool rest. Step 2, round nose scraper onto your fingers and your thumb on the scraper. Step 3, up slowly and in control onto the tool rest until it starts ticking your material. You can hear the tick, you can feel the tick, you can see the tick. Once it ticks, that's the end of step 3, and step 4 is now squeezing with your thumb and going across. And what you're hearing cutting right now are the high spots of the circle. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, now we're going to do that until we get rid of all of our bandsaw marks. And you can see there's still bandsaw marks all the way along there. You can see where we are ticking right here. Here was our high spot. Okay, bandsaw marks, did a little cutting right there. So we're going to go for a couple minutes till we get this round. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Once you kind of get a feel for it, you can go in both directions. You should have shavings coming off. If you don't have shavings, if you just have sawdust like that, you've got to push in slightly harder into the piece of material. Okay, you can change the angle of this a little bit. Don't change the angle down like that or up. We want it to stay relatively flat, but you can change like this if it works better for you. Like that, this. Okay, I think we're getting pretty close to having all the bandsaw marks off and having a perfect cylinder. Yes, we don't have any bandsaw marks left at all. Now, got a little bit of an angle on here. We want it straight. So what we're going to do is we'll actually use the square nose scraper. I'm going to move this a little closer because I've taken material off, so our circle has gotten smaller. But we do now have a circle, and it should be perfect. So now, a square nose scraper is a little different in that you can't go at an angle like that or like that. It's got to be used like so, step back, like so, and like so. So you're just stepping it down. So it'll look like this. Similar steps, step 1, step 2. Step 3, and then step 4 is just once we touch a material, just squeeze tight with your thumb. There we go. Now, step 4, we're going to move it over a little bit. And we're actually, I'm looking up here to see how my shape is shaping up. Okay, and if it's getting more even. So now it's nice and flat and straight across here. Okay, as opposed to before, it was kind of, I had a little bit of an angle on it. So now we're nice and flat that way, and we're looking good. Now, I'm just going to show you how to round off the edges if you want to. For our spacer on what we're building, we don't want to round this off. But for the seat, you could. Just it's a little softer, it's a little yeah, just nicer profile. But for our spacers, which this is similar to, don't round it off. Keep them square, it's stronger. So, we're going to use the square nose scraper. You want to put it up onto your tool rest, but don't have it straight like we did before. Have it turn just a little bit so that this corner doesn't grab. Okay, we don't want this corner to point in the material and grab into the material. So we go like so. Now, up to this point, the handle stayed fairly stationary. This time we're going to rotate around like so. And we make that as round as we like. Again. Okay, and again. And again. And we can do this back side as well. It's a little trickier to get your hand in there. Nope, made that a little uneven. We'll go back here, even it out a little bit. There we go. So now you can see that we put a nice radius on the edges. Got rid of all our bandsaw marks. We've done all the shaping we want to, so now it's time to sand. So we will get the tool rest out of the way. Okay, move it over there. Then we're going to get our sandpaper, and we're going to start with 60 grit and fold it up like this. This will serve a couple of purposes. Main purpose is it prevents you from being burnt. Okay, we're going to be applying pressure down here. There's speed involved. What's going to happen? It's going to generate, there's going to be friction. It's going to generate heat, enough heat to burn you. So keep your sandpaper moving around. We're going to speed the rotation up. We're going to go up to about 1200 RPM. So about number 6 on our dial. So we have to turn this one on, pull the black knob out, and then rotate it until it's at number 6. It's lined up with the arrow. So typically it takes about 4 minutes with 60 grit. Okay, it's the most aggressive and it'll get rid of most of the defects. So put it on, rotate it like that, make sure you have lots of pressure. Okay, and you'll notice sawdust flying off the back. That means you're doing it right. I'm gonna try and shape my sandpaper to get in there. Oh, it's hot. 60 grit's the most important. It'll take out most of the defects. Then the 80 grit, it takes out the 60 scratches. Then the 100 grit takes out the scratches caused by the 80. And then the 150 takes out the 100 grit scratch. Let's take a look at that. Still have some gouges there, so we're going to go a little bit more. Don't be afraid. Go to the new piece of new part of the sandpaper. There we go. All right, so now we did, in theory, we did 4 minutes. Do 4 minutes with the 60 grit, it'll work best. Then 2 minutes with 80, so in the same fashion. Okay, do that for 2 minutes. Then go to 100 grit. For 2 minutes, and then go to 150 to finish it off for 2 minutes. And I think you'll be pretty happy with the result if you follow that sequence of events. And there we go. Got a really nice finish on that. And that is done. We'll sand the surface just by hand on a workbench, like so, once we get there. Now, sometimes they come off easy, sometimes they don't. Open this up. It's got a little key that goes into a cog. And there we go. And here we go. That's our turned, our faceplate turning on a piece of wood. That's what we're looking for, and now we have a perfect circle. Okay, so any diameter is done in a very similar fashion. If we get smaller than this, we would go to a smaller faceplate, and that's fine, we can do that. Or if we're making a big piece, like 10 or 12 inches, okay, we can go to this faceplate would handle that. Okay, and that is faceplate turning.